I'm going to introduce Kristen and Kristen and then let them come up and give you some more information about networking and references. So Kristen Wurster is a lifetime resident of Charleston County. She's worked for Charleston County government for elected and appointed officials in various roles for the past 12 years. And in her position as Deputy Clerk of Council, she serves as proxy for council members on several boards, such as Charleston Promise Neighborhoods, Charleston Animal Society, CARTA, and the Council of Governments. She's completed the county's Emerging Leaders Program, where she now serves on the Emerging Leader Alumni Committee. She's currently participating in Leadership Charleston through the Chamber of Commerce, and she loves being a public servant and giving back to her community. And Kristen Salisbury began her career in public service in 1997 with Charleston County voter registration before she transitioned to the County Council office, where she served as Deputy Clerk of Council for 16 years before being appointed Clerk of Council. She's passionate about local government and is participating in the current cohort of the National Association of Counties High Performance Leadership Academy. So we're so fortunate to have all of their background and experience in government and with working with boards. I'm going to let y'all come on up, and thank you again for being here. I got it.
All right, well, good afternoon. It's great to see everybody. I don't know if y'all heard, we had a little trouble getting here this afternoon. We left in plenty of time with all good intentions, and then there was this accident or fire or something on I-26 that just kept us sitting there in gridlock for a half hour or more. So we're happy to finally be with you this afternoon. So let's just get right into it with boards and commissions. So I think the first step in deciding that you want to serve on a board or a commission is to understand the process. Like, you really just want to make sure you know what to expect all the way through, from making a decision to put in an application all the way through to actually serving on the board. So the first thing you should do is just research the board or commission that you're interested in, or research your local government to see what kind of boards and commissions they actually offer that might match up with your skill set. And if you have any trouble finding information about the boards in your locality or specific information that you might be interested in, reach out to your clerk of council. Like the clerks of council, I see some of my fellow clerks back here as well. It's a wealth of knowledge in the county council office or the city council office. Just they're ready and willing to help you find out whatever information you might need to know about a board or commission, because at the end of the day, we have these boards and commissions that we need to help make our government run more efficiently and get input from all segments of the community. And so that's what boards and commissions are there for. You would want to also complete any of the pre-appointment requirements by the deadline. So some places you have to have a council member sponsor you. So you'd need to go through and make the connection with your council member and see if they're willing to sponsor you to be a part of a certain board or commission. Sometimes you may need a letter of recommendation. You may need to go through an interview process or something like that. Those are things that some localities do before they start the application process. So then once you figure out, I want to apply for this one certain board or commission, you would submit the application. You want to make sure that you completely fill out your application. Don't leave any blanks, because that just makes more work for the clerk's office to do, finding out the information that you left off. If you don't know your voter registration number, it's very easy to call your voter registration office in your county and find your voter registration number if that's a requirement. All right, and then also it's always a good idea to submit a resume along with your application, but you want to gear your resume towards the board or commission that you're seeking appointment for. So it wouldn't be just your general resume that you're applying for a job for. It would be a resume with the skill set that board or commission is actually looking for. I'm gonna pass it off to Kristen for a couple slides.
Okay, and then as Sarah was saying, make sure you know that you've making yourself known, that you, if you don't get a response in our county, at least, I send out a response probably within 2 hours, but within 24 to 48 hours, you'll get a response from me saying, this is when the finance committee is going to consider applications. And then this is when they're going to consider them for county council. And you need to contact the council members and let them know that you have a desire to serve on the board or commission that you're applying for. So if you don't get that response within 48 hours, I would say reach out to that entity and ask them, just following up, making sure that you got my application. And then I suggest that you contact the council members. You can do that by email, by phone call. Their contact information is on our website, but I give everybody that information and let them know where to find it. And then show up at the meeting that you're, the finance committee meeting, and let them know, hey, I'm here. I'm putting a face to the name. We might have only had a little phone conversation, or I might have sent you an email, but I'm here. I'm introducing myself. I want to serve on this board or commission. And I say, especially if you know that that board's contested, when we send out the agenda for that finance committee, it has everybody's name that's going to be considered for a board or commission. So if there's, like our Parks and Rec board is always a highly contested board. So if you know that there's 10 other people that are applying for 3 positions, you need to make more of an effort to make yourself known, and that you're very interested in what you can do to help improve that board. Let's see. And then also after the follow-up, or did I even change this? Yes, I did. When you are appointed, or if you're not appointed, I also reach out after that and say, either you are appointed, here's all the information that you need to know, or you're not appointed, but don't stop. We always need boards and commission volunteers to come and serve with us. So don't find another board that interests you and apply to that board. Don't just stop with the one because you didn't get appointed one time. And then the last slide that we have is seeking reappointment. So if you are currently serving on one of our boards and commissions, don't be complacent. Just because your term is up and you are reapplying, don't think that they're just going to reappoint you just because you served last time. Again, that some of these boards are highly contested, and somebody might come in and say, be just as bold as you were the first time around. And so you need to let them know that you're still wanting to serve and willing to serve. And if you served in any kind of capacity, like the chairperson or the vice chairperson, note that on your application. Don't send me the application that you just sent me 4 years ago. Update it with the new information of what you did while you were on that board and why you deserve to still serve on that board. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am. I think there's too much time in between the terms that nobody's going to realize. I think it just shows interest that you are eager to apply. And again, as long as you're gearing your application towards why you're interested in that board and not just giving us a blanket, responses to, I just want to serve, but you're putting some effort into, you research the board and that this is why you want to serve on that board. I don't think that that's a problem at all.
Right. And I think also our council members say it every time we have an appointment session. The applications are just normally just very high quality applications. And so they're going through, just application after application after application of very highly qualified people to take this seat. And so it's a tough decision. So that's where the networking really does come in, where you have reached out to the council members and you've had a phone conversation with them, because until they meet you or hear from you or whatever, you're just a piece of paper to them, you know? I mean, you are a very highly qualified piece of paper, but they don't know anything about you. And so they haven't bought into you yet. So you really do have to network with them, get their buy-in to why you're the best person to serve on that board or commission.
And I'll say too, if you're an active participant at our meetings, or not necessarily active, but if you come to our meetings and you're sitting out in the audience, they know when there is a new face, and they'll say, hey, do you know who that person is that's wearing the pink dress? And we're like, no, we don't know. And they'll go up to the person and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I noticed you're in the audience. What's going on? And then if that person expressed interest in serving on a board and they've been sitting in a couple council meetings, that's everything. Like they will, really, because again, you're putting a face to a name, and it's not just somebody sending an email and sending in an application, just saying, I want to serve.
That's why I was just thinking of a little different scenario where if you were interested in council meetings, for example,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
Following me,
Right. Yeah, that's
that work?
That's absolutely key. Like Kristen was saying, when our council members see, we've got some regulars that typically come, and then we've got our staff members. But when they see particularly somebody sitting in the audience who did not get up and speak during public comments or something like that, some of our council members go out in the audience and they're like, hey, I noticed you're here. Why are you here? And that gives you an opportunity to say, hey, I'm thinking about applying for the Park and Recreation Commission. I know it's a tough one to get onto, and kind of try to sell yourself there. And then you sort of get in the know about what's going on. You can, talk intelligently to people about what's going on in the community, that kind of thing.
Just my tweet on that was also just to take the initiative.
Yeah.
And go up to that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a couple of things. I know that a lot of times women are involved in leadership roles that they don't necessarily think of as leadership roles. And so I think there was a mention of PTA and things like that. Can you speak to, if you feel like I don't have enough leadership experience to put on my resume, like what are some examples of ways that really do demonstrate that you're interested and involved in your community and have leadership experience that might not be, I'm the CEO of whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially in local government, it's very important to be involved in your community ahead of time before you are, stepping out and trying to serve on a appointed board or commission. That shows interest in the community, and that's what the council members are looking for. They're looking for people who are interested in making Charleston County, or whatever your locality is, a better place to live and work. And so they're looking for the people who are keyed in to the schools, the people who know the people at the schools because they're on the PTA and they're the president of the PTA or the fundraising chair or whatever, the people who coach soccer, the people who, teach dance lessons, those kind of things. Anything that shows that you're committed to the community is always a plus.
And then I guess another question is also about references. So getting other people to speak on your behalf, certainly, networking and letting people, county council members know, but is it helpful, to get someone else to speak to a county council member on your behalf?
I think absolutely. I think the more you can show that you do have influence with other people, the better it is for your chances of getting appointed. If somebody else thinks highly enough of you to write a letter on your behalf or to make a phone call to a council member they may go to church with or something like that, the more buy-in you might have from the council members. So absolutely anything, like Sarah said at the very beginning, it's just persistence. It's putting yourself out there. not being intimidated, because at the end of the day, all of your elected officials are just people just like you, and they want to talk to you, they want to engage with you, and they represent you. So at the end of the day, anything that you can do to get in front of them, get them to remember your name when they are making nominations and raising their hand to vote for somebody.
Sure, we have a question from the chat. I'm gonna head over here so we can get it. Oh, this is great. Do you want to just read it right off for us?
So Tanya Rodriguez says there aren't many, if any, Latino representation across the board. What is the best way to begin gathering the research to know if one should apply?
She say Latino
Yeah, Latino.
representation? Okay, so in our county, anytime that someone stands out and apart from somebody, I think it's more of a opportunity for the council members to look at that, because like I said, at the end of the day, they're trying to get people to represent all the different segments of the community. And so I just know in particular, when we were just appointing people to the library board, there was sort of a cry from the library board itself, hey, we don't have any Latino representation on our board. When you're looking through the applications, could you look for someone who would be a good fit, who would come from that background? And so that was something our council members were able to look at. But also, when you're making that phone call to your council members, or the email, however you decide to reach out to them, just point out, I noticed when I was looking at the people who serve on this board, you don't have any representation from this segment, and I would be a good representative for that background.
And I think that goes along too with knowing who your council member is when you apply, because it specifically, well, all the way around. If you're applying for the library board and, we know that like one of our council members sits on the library board as our liaison, reach out to her and say, hey, I know you're the liaison for the county. I'd love to serve, like that. And then find out which district you live in and reach out to that council person and say, I live in your district. I want to make sure that we're representing our district of, West Ashley, so that this library, because they also want to make sure that they're grabbing people from all different areas. But then specifically too, like the St. John's Fire District for us, make sure you reach out to that council person that, does Johns Island and say, hey, because they're going to take more influence on what that council person says, because they're representing her districts, like solely her district, than they will anybody else. So making sure that you're reaching out to all of them, but specifically making a connection with that person that represents you and represents that board that you want to serve on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, we really appreciate the insight. Thank you for fighting the traffic to be here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.